Ambedkarism, Marxism, liberalism, Dravidianism, feminism, Gandhiism. What role are these great big isms of the 20th century playing in the 21st century? What relevance do they have today?
Have a tree.
I'm an atheist in the same way as I'm an leprechaun.
Why have there been casteism existing in the country still today?
Feminism, by definition, is the belief that men and women should have equal
So the
rights.
nature of the system is to be as mean and rotten as you can, to try to maximize profit.
I'm Sudipto Mondal, and welcome to this episode of What's Your Ism?
Hello and welcome back to What's Your Ism. I know we've been away for a bit, but in the next few discussions, I have some very interesting topics lined up. One of them happened in a small town 200 miles from Budapest in Hungary, where there's a small group of Ambedkarites. Why are they there? What are they doing there? Wait for that discussion. Another discussion is from Manantavadi in Wayanad, where I discuss anti-caste Ramayana and Mahabharata with a very, very interesting personality. And the third discussion is also from Kerala. It's from a place called Perindal Manna in Malappuram district, where I discuss the anti-caste potential in Islam. Now, in the last 1 year, I have interviewed activists, scholars, lawyers, authors. We have had deep conversations about ideologies that have shaped progressive movements and organizations. But right now, I think it is time to move the lens a little inwards. I think it's time to have a conversation about the ism of the platform that is making these conversations possible. The News Minute is celebrating 11 years in journalism, and this is a special episode where I discuss the ism of the News Minute and its founders with Dhanya Rajendran, our editor-in-chief, and Vignesh Vellore, our chief executive officer. Thank you for doing this. How much time do we have, Dhanya and Vignesh? You guys are super busy and you didn't want to do this show.
Yeah, I mean, we can't talk about ourselves, right? 20 minutes, Sudipto, 20 minutes.
We talk about the whole world. Why can't we just turn the camera, talk about ourselves a little bit? Can we have 40 minutes?
Sure.
30 minutes?
It's a bit weird, but yes.
No, let me ask you my first soft question, okay? Now, you guys are in a relationship, you've been married. Now, this TNM entity, is it like you've been wedded to this idea for so many years, but is it like a third wheel in your relationship? Or is it like your
Kebab
baby?
mein haddi.
Is it a kebab mein haddi?
Kebab mein
No,
haddi,
I
right?
don't think so. I don't think so. No.
I think it's brought us together.
It's brought you together.
Closer.
Too close.
Too close.
It's not like that. To be very truthful, we know how to keep the News Minute away from our personal relationship also. Otherwise, most of the days we'll be fighting, saying that where is my traffic? Where is my subscription? Where are my members? So we know how to keep it away, but it consumes a lot of our time and our life, obviously. So there may be other people who are impacted by the fact that we are the News Minute.
Not us. The one thing that Vignesh always does is, as CEO, keeps away from the news side of things. Is that difficult, Vignesh? I mean, as somebody who consumes the news, who has strong opinions.
Actually, when we started on, I actually thought I will be playing a very active role in the editorial side. But over the years, they've thrown me out. So it's okay. It works out this way. So it's fine.
But both of you have worked on stories together. I remember even before TNM, when all of us, I mean, you and I, we were in the field together. I would often see Vignesh coming and helping you out. Do you want to recall one such joint effort, one story?
See, that's because he was a HR manager in an IT company. So when you're a journalist and you're married to someone who's not in the field, initially they're very excited because, you're coming back home every day and saying that I met this person, I met that person I interviewed. After 6 months, the enthusiasm just wanes because you don't see your spouse or partner, whatever, and they're always out. So what did I do? I made sure that Vignesh would come with me for assignment. So he also feels happy and important that he's meeting people. And the whole problem with that was that Vignesh started thinking he's a journalist.
I think first 2 years were a very exciting period.
So
right?
he started
So I was
giving
on
me
the
story
ground,
ideas.
yeah.
And unfortunately, some of the story ideas became big hits.
Like
One of my first investigations, because I was not from Chennai, right? I had just gone there as part of my job. So I didn't know how education worked there. So he told me that in Anna University and other universities, basically you can pay money to the university itself and you write a code on your exam paper and they will give you marks because there is a system where you pay. So I did a whole spy cam. It became a vigilance and CBI investigation. But the idea was his. But he would make sure that everybody knew that it was his idea.
Because then no byline. No byline. no, with credit from the so and so person. None of that.
I'm working
None
in
of that.
TV. He's just giving me an idea. He's just a source. Why should I give him byline?
Do you at least have a byline in TNM, Vignesh?
I think one story we gave you.
Some Rajinikanth related story is there. Yeah, that's the only thing I got byline for.
Yeah, I think one story we gave him.
I'm not getting anything for what is that in the bottom? You
Ideation.
put, no?
Ideation.
Yeah. You guys, editors, you get something. We should add one more line there. Idea
No,
by.
but I think it's always better to keep the management, which is the CEO, etc., away from editorial. So you can give random ideas, but it's up to the editorial to execute the idea or not. But beyond that, see, we are a small organization. So a marketing person can give us an idea, our social media person can give us an idea, CEO can give us an idea. As long as that is not driven by commercial interest, right? That gap is there, meaning it's fine.
Actually, to be very honest, all those aspirations are all gone off now. Now, if TNM does a story, that's when I'm most proud. So,
Okay, now for this hard talk bit of this What's Your Ism on TNM. What I've done is I've put together a lot of testimonials, okay, because I thought there's too much proximity here. I should kind of gain some distance. So I got other people to talk about it, and I'm going to play some videos, and we'll build on that. So in my first video, this is about the origin story of TNM. I have the first employee and the first co-conspirator, Riaz Muhammad and Anisha Sheth. Anisha Sheth is employee number 1 and Muhammad Riaz is co-conspirator number 1. I want you guys to talk about it, Vignesh, after we play this small video. What do they have to say?
Beginning, it was more of a technology side, right? Like we thought we'll do something in technology, we'll aggregate news, we'll do a lot of this, that. But again, the key point was when News Minute pivoted into serious journalism. Like when Dhanya said, let's do journalism. We are good in this and let's make some difference and let's focus on South. I remember still many journeys me and Vignesh had to Bangalore, to Trivandrum, working with the vendors, working with the technology guys to make things right.
There is no conflict between the editorial and the management. Rather, it is the opposite, where editorial goals and management goals or philosophies or vision, if you want to call it that, are aligned. It's because you know that your organization has your back. If editorially, if a story makes sense, then we go ahead with it. I joined in February 2014. I was the first employee. Back then, there was one intern before me. At the time, it was just the 4 of us, Chitra, Vignesh, Dhanya, and me. A few more people were hired over the next few months. At the time when I joined in February 2014, the website was still being developed. And I don't think a lot of people know this, but it started out as a news aggregator. I think the news junkie that Dhanya is, I don't think she would have been satisfied with just, aggregating news from other sources. So we slowly started reporting. Initially, it was just Bangalore and Kerala. There was one reporter. There was one reporter in Hyderabad, and there was another one in Tamil Nadu, in Chennai.
Okay, so what are these two talking about? They're talking about one pivot that happens. Pivot from what I imagine to be a profitable model to something that is half brain dead. Huh? It is the worst time, 2014, to be doing anything related even remotely to the concept of truth seeking, this, that. Vignesh, you are somebody who's trained in management. Do you think this is the worst business decision you made?
See, the only other option that was there was
Get divorced.
No, she wanted to start an event company. And, I looked at it and I said, okay, Bangalore.
No. I think there's some context to this. I worked for a news channel for 8-9 years. I was I did not want to do journalism for some time. I'm very good at organizing birthday parties for children. So I thought, why not start an event company? And I actually got 1 or 2 orders. I did do birthday events. By the way, I do it very well.
So then I said, this event company, I can't sit and do. There are 2 children's parties. See, but also in 2014, if you look at it, I think that was the year or the previous year, Ariana Huffington sold HuffPost. Right? And it was a massive deal, no? So we said, okay, fine, if aggregators can do it and all that stuff, we should also be able to try something. And at the end of the day, we're using her expertise, which is journalism. we intended to do an aggregator, but it was a very different type of an aggregator, right? For every story, there's a for and an against. So our aggregation would show you both sides of it. So we
I
thought
can't
it was,
even remember this.
So we thought it was
I remember this very well actually. First time, so you had called some of us, right, journalists and all that, saying that, hey, if you want, like, some kind of whatever, secret, you were not telling us what the idea is. You just called us and said, if you guys had to dream of a journalism outlet or something new in journalism, what would it be like? So you called a group discussion. Then I kept poking and he said, well, I have an idea for an aggregator. And from there, an aggregator is what? It's like these in shorts kind of things,
so
right?
Riaz is Vignesh's friend from the IT company.
IT.
He basically helped us, he and his some other people put together the website. So it was basically, the first website was, if you open the newsminute.com, that was not the name, by the way. It was Newsbrew.
Newsbrew.
We had all sorts of names, but we stuck to News Minute, which our friend Rahul Bidappa and Deepthi Menon
No, that
suggested.
was also because, they suggested, but it was the only domain name available.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we said, before this sells out, we should buy it off now only, and then we'll figure it out later.
So we did think a lot, News Minute, because I was coming from the News Hour team and then to start the News Minute, but we thought, okay, let's go ahead with it. Yeah, it was an aggregator where if you click on the News Minute website, you would see some of our own reporting. Not own reporting, we just say the Hindu said this, the Indian Express said this. After almost 1.5 months, I got tired of it.
Yeah.
I just got tired of aggregating it.
So
And then what took over? Instinct? Saying that this is what I do best, this is my North Star, you just keep moving in that direction. What happened?
No, I'll tell you. I remember this very clearly. I think the first time what was that story we broke on February 21st when we went live? The Nalini, no?
Okay, can I interrupt you? So if I'm not wrong, you guys had a story before you had a site.
Yes, absolutely.
Tell me
No,
about
we
it.
didn't have a site.
We didn't have a
fully.
site at all. We didn't have a site. There was some concept of a site. It was not even optimized for mobile devices because those days not many people are reading in mobile devices. So it was made for the desktop.
So you couldn't open it
Yeah,
on the
you
mobile
can't
phone
open it on the
properly.
mobile
Those had
phone.
what, QWERTY phones, right? The
No,
best
no,
phones were
no. We had phones.
The phones were
But
there, but
the
nobody was
website has
developing sites for mobiles, right?
Yeah.
And then I remember, and then Riaz and me and all, we were looking at the site, testing it out, and everything was somewhat okay. And then she called in the morning and said, "I'm getting a great story. It's an exclusive." Now we are like, boss, we thought aggregator. Now you're saying exclusive. 5 o'clock, we are publishing. We published on 21st February 2014 at 5 p.m. No? The story went up. Now, after the story goes up, what do you think? Dhanya is sitting and saying, why nobody is reading? Only 5 people have opened the story. All 5 are in the office.
Why?
It's
What
there
happened?
on the web. Everybody should
Because
be reading.
see, I am under the impression that I am so popular that if I start a website, millions will start reading immediately. Clearly, no, right? Millions will not start reading just because Dhanya Rajendran, who then realized that she's not that popular.
So we're like, we put on Twitter, we'll put it on this, we'll put on that. And the
It's
number is
very-
going up, but we're literally calling people and say, we published, we are live, can you read?
But then
And
some of the news channels picked it
that
up.
up, yeah.
So
What was the story?
the story basically was, so I worked in Chennai. I was obsessed with the coverage of LTT and all that. So the daughter of Nalini and Sriharan, these are 2 people who were convicted for assassinating Rajiv Gandhi. Their daughter Meghra called me from London and said that for the first time she had written to Sonia Gandhi and the president and the prime minister saying, please give clemency to her parents. So she sent me the letters, and this was the first time that the child is intervening in this. So I got very excited and I wanted the letters out. I mean, if you think of it now, was it that big an exclusive? I don't know. But I felt at that moment it was a big story. And so I wanted the site to carry it. Yeah, but one thing, Sudipto, if you start a website, like a lot of people ask me now, should I start websites? It's not at all easy to make people read. There is so much of competition out there. Then there's, of course, a tech side of it, right? You have to get your SEO, your optimization, all that. Even if you have a great story. I know so many journalists who put out great stories. But even on our site, if it is not SEO optimized, it will not pick up on algorithms, right? So that was one of my first learnings, that product also matters as much as what you put in that product.
And
I don't think that's a lesson I still learned.
See,
and
actually
that's a
the
lesson.
one-
What, Vignesh, is that your domain? This product thing? Because what is Riaz talking about when he's talking about these
So I'll tell
trips?
you.
And
Couple of months after we went live, we then realized that we were we use a server called Heruko or something. I don't remember the name, and we were on the cheapest plan. right? Because only that much we could afford. So the cutoff was if it crosses, I think, 200 concurrent users, site will fail. So you got analytics open and you're trying to see how much you can push the server, right? This is like, if you have like 1 liter of fuel and then you're like, we'll go a little bit more extra. We'll figure it out, right? So then we would actually check with Dhanya and saying that, what are you publishing now? Because if in case it, 500, 400, 500 concurrent users, site will fail. So then you have to manually go and increase the server bandwidth levels. And that will be an additional cost. Now, if you increase it, you want to make sure that you're not increasing it for a month, right? Because month cost will become more.
And we don't have any money, by the way. We are depending on Vignesh's day job in the IT company.
So we will go increase it, and then after the traffic comes in, come back and decrease it so that you're saving that kind of cost. Now, what happens in the middle of the night if suddenly somebody decides that we'll all should read this particular story? Then you're gone case. So then we decided, okay, maybe we should become a little bit better, right?
So when he says we, just him and Riaz and the other two guys who are helping.
We don't have a team and all that.
See, this is basically the problem of starting a business without a business plan. So people used to ask me when I used to go for events after 1 or 2 years, what was your business plan? I now really wish I had some business plan, at least something in mind. I just didn't want to go back to the job in a TV channel. And everybody was asking me, what is your next job? Because in India, you cannot take sabbaticals.
I mean, other people have different ways of saying this. They'll say you're anti-national or some urban Naxal or whatever. But what you're essentially speaking to, I suppose, is a certain kind of ism only, some kind of politics. Because otherwise, I don't see what great profit Riaz made out of this whole thing.
Oh, absolutely.
What you made out. So tell me about this, no?
No, I think, we were very clear that, even if we were very clear that we will run it for 2 years. Initially, 2014, 2015, that we will not take anybody else's money because we don't want to take somebody else's money and then say that, okay, fine, you know what, this is not going to work out. So thank you very much. We will leave.
They are not Byju's.
We should be, but yeah. Okay.
If you were, I wouldn't have been driving a Nano.
Exactly. Yeah, we probably have a bigger studio than this, but yeah. So we were very clear, 2 years for sure. And we waited also that we will have a certain kind of a target, which is 1 million unique visitors
I
or something.
really have no memory of all this.
Something like that. We said we will do 1 million some page views or uniques and then only say that, okay, we have stabilized. Luckily, touch wood for us, we reached that million quite fast.
Yeah. So the moment we started doing our own stories, we actually had a lot of readers coming in. And you know what I could capitalize on? In 2014, none of the newspapers were quick. They were still thinking newspaper, right? So they would think of putting the story out for their evening, for the edits to go and for the morning to get published. So we had the advantage of speed. And I'm trained to be fast because I have worked in television. So that is why the News Minute in the beginning could really make inroads and become a brand very fast because we had speed to our advantage. We could write copies fast and we were not writing things without confirming. One of the things that we stood out a lot is that we never, though we were a small team and we were competing with big organizations, we were never been called out saying that this is a wrong story, except once. Except once in our initial days, it has never happened to us. So that also helped.
So our technology was not as fast as the other co-founder.
Okay, that's the big fight between us. Actually, the only fight between us even today is about, I will blame him saying it's your technology which sucks. He will say, but you guys should put more stories. So, or now he's saying put less stories.
2015, Jayalalitha went to, 2015, right? So in 2015, by the time we had moved from our makeshift website to getting a small tech company to manage our website. So we were, and our concurrent users were in the thousands now, right? So it's significantly grown. So they were able to manage. I think Jayalalitha, something happened. I don't remember where, hospitalization or the prison one?
No, she was convicted.
She was convicted.
So when she was convicted...
We were the only ones who put out the story, no?
When she was convicted and then the case came to the High Court, what happened is everybody... So the prosecution in the court did not oppose her bail. That's all. It's simple. So when the prosecution did not oppose the bail, the AIDMK thought she got bail and they started celebrating outside the court.
I remember.
Yeah. So everybody broke the story saying that Jayalalitha got bail. I'm the only reporter inside the court with another TV reporter because we're the only ones who managed to go inside court. And I remember Anisha being in office.
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah, and
I was
Anisha
on
and
the phone,
Vignesh
yeah.
are on the desk,
Yes.
and they're continuously messaging me saying that everybody's breaking the story, everybody's breaking the story.
yeah.
And I only have SMS. So SMS saying, Anisha, I am in the court.
Exactly.
She has not gotten bail. Then they told me Anna Isaac has broken it. At that time, Anna Isaac was not working with us. She was working for News 18 or CNN IBN. Yeah. They said, because Anna, we believe, will break the correct news. Poor Anna's also not in court. She's been told by her desk that Jayalalitha got bail. We tweeted saying Jayalalitha did not get bail. It was a small tweet, but people really understand when you give the right news. I think we built on that slowly and steadily. Even if you're 5 minutes late, don't be wrong.
So we published that, and we were the only ones obviously who got it right. And then the traffic just blew out of proportion. So it's crossing 5,000, 6,000. I think it held up to about 5,000, 6,000 odd, and then the site just
imagine our biggest spike
crashed.
was when Arnab Goswami quit Times Now.
Yeah.
They were one of the first to second people to put it out. Yeah.
So the software company, the company was manning it. They were in Hennur HRBR layout. And you can't call these people and say, hey, dude, something is happening, right? And then they will not respond. So then after the copy was published, then I went there and we're sitting and we're trying to get the site back. And obviously the yelling is coming from because you can't put any additional copy, right? You can't upload anything.
The site is crashed.
The site is gone. That's it. So then somehow we revived it and all that. And then after we got to a point where you can publish one story which can go viral in the day. You can't publish anything additional after that. You just wait for a couple of hours, traffic dips down, and then we will do.
Yeah.
So I think that time was a very testing time. So, and we didn't have the money obviously as well. So then finally, I think some reader of ours, and thanks to that reader, I think he reached out to you through some Twitter or something and said, I think you guys need a better tech solution. And I recommend somebody who's sitting in Trivandrum. So then immediately Riaz and me went there, and they said,
this company called Zykesware.
They said, yeah, we'll help you guys out, this and all that. And then we set up everything, and then we were on Zykesware, for the longest period after that, with no issues.
So the good thing is a lot of people, including these small companies, lawyers, they were all ready to do things for us at discounted rates.
Yes.
That really helped us.
How much of that do you think had to do with Dhanya Rajendran, the brand? And I think I'm going to expand this question a little. So the other day I was watching this film on Martha Stewart. Okay, and she's this rock star American businesswoman who was brought down in the opinion of a lot of people, brought down by a bunch of patriarchal MCP men who didn't have much of a case against her, but brought down her entire empire. She was this first American female billionaire. There is one thing which which kept on bringing me to you and thinking that, oh, this is like Dhanya, that is like Dhanya. Of course,
I'm not a billionaire, but
no, you're not a billionaire. Okay, and you're not that. She's also quite kind of mean and all that to her employees, which you're not. But there's two things. One, they keep talking about her attention to detail. I don't want to talk about that. That's an established thing with you. The other thing is they talk about how that whole company, this whole set of companies that she started was centered around her brand. Okay, the Martha Stewart brand. When you started, and pardon me for doing this, I've done it in the past, like we used to always refer to this as Dhanya's outlet, not as TNM. Because you and the brand were inseparable. But then as it developed, I saw many brands emerging within TNM, individual brands. You had people like Prajwal, Raga, Charan, Harita, Sarita, this thing. Were those initial days risky, or was it a good thing? Did it give you impetus saying that, okay, there's Dhanya Rajendran, this is a bankable name? Or was it something that was making it a kind of a risky proposition, saying that there's only one brand in this thing and you have to pull the whole thing? How is this?
So I didn't think of it that deeply and all that. Initially, okay, fine, my face helped a bit. Even now, it does help a bit. For example, you go to
millions of people know you, even before you started TNM.
No, it's not about millions of people are not going to read anything just because they think somebody published the news. Literally, nobody's going to trust. And there are more people who do not know me than there are people who know me, right? So to the 1,000 people who are clicking on the site, maybe 3 people actually knew me. 997 people did not know who owned the website. That is the thought with which I have to operate. I don't think it is me operating. It's always the News Minute. And I've never put so much thought into my brand because I was very careful from the beginning to not put my brand out there. It so happened that, like for example, I would go cover a flood. I'm covering as any other normal reporter would, but there would be so much attention on it. And then I started pulling back because I don't want me to be out there as the face of that coverage, right? So now I stopped going for landslide or flood. I used to go for all the coverages and I really want to go even now. But I feel like the story was taking a backseat, at least on Twitter. I'm not saying the larger world knew me at all. But then we took a conscious decision, like Vignesh was saying, that we have to build multiple brands, that you have to take a backseat, that tomorrow, let's say I die. The brand has to go on, right? And for that, which is why for a long time, I did not do any video show because I did not want my face to be out there.
And we also should be different. No, what are we trying to establish? If we become companies which are run by one single person, then what's the point in all this, right? So we were very clear from the very beginning itself that we would build these sub-brands. Like everybody can have the kind of attention that she also
gets. Like at
one
point, Dhanya Rajendran, I think was way more popular than I was, right? And even now, in fact, a lot of our first batch of subscribers or members came because they read Soumya. It's not because they wanted to pay money for Dhanya. So I think that way, how do brands matter? I worked in Times Now for 8 years. When Arnab Goswami was leaving, everybody thought that's the end of that brand. That brand is still continuing with people who may be as good or not as good as him. But the brands will continue, right? Because the brands, if the brand is good, its work is good or even really bad, there's a way it will continue in the market. So the point is how to, and see, one thing I've noticed in the media is that so many people's bylines, right? So such wonderful stories journalists do. We half the time do not know that person. Why not? So I kept telling my people who joined the News Minute that put yourself out there if you want to. You are also a person behind the story. Your emotion is there. So we have been very careful about building brands.
Speaking of brands, my next set of testimonials are from people who've become their own person in their time in TNM. This is Ragamallika Karthikeyan, Prajwal Bhatt, and Charan Teja.
I come from an interior village in Telangana's Kamareddy district. I've never imagined myself working with a platform like the News Minute, where I will be tracking and covering the big stories that are happening in both the states of Telangana and Andhra. The News Minute, as it grew as an organization, I saw myself as someone who is also growing with that as a journalist who is able to pick up the stories, who is able to tell the stories that mattered most. A forest rights conflict between the Adivasis and the state in Adilabad, or the rise of Hindu mobilization around the symbolism in Telangana, or the killing of Pranay Perumalai in Nalgonda over his intercaste marriage. Those were the stories that were very close to me, close to my heart. And in academic world, people simply say that they discard the work of the journalist by saying that it doesn't hold any scientific significance. But go to any story that comes from the News Minute, you see a language that often surpasses the academic standards.
I came to the News Minute as an intern in 2016. One of the things with the News Minute is that they take a chance on young people, and they really work with young people and reporters and their ideas. I think that I was quite naive in many ways because I didn't understand the world and reporting as well as I do now, obviously. And with being in contact with editors in the News Minute, I think that what I got from it was an understanding of communalism, an understanding of caste, class as factors in the way we report. And that has brought me to Columbia University now to, understand journalism better.
Sometimes ideas, there are intentions and then there are ideas, right? So the intentions are great, but sometimes, people might come up with ideas that are just like, oh, I know a queer person, or I know a person in my college who is gay, or something of that sort. and to sort of streamline those intentions into actual stories. Initially, there was like a small guide that I made in terms of like, what kind of stories are okay to do, what kind of stories are not okay to do, what is the sort of basic language that we can use and what we can't use. So that's sort of where it started. And it's been a process. It's been a process sort of continuously. There have been a lot of things happening in the country with respect to gender, with respect to LGBTQIA plus issues, with respect to SOGSE minorities. So in that sense, I think the coverage also included what was happening in the courts, what was happening in states. In the pandemic, I was on a panel discussion that Queer Chennai Chronicles was doing as part of their Lit Fest. So that they do the Queer Lit Fest in Chennai every year. And because it was the pandemic, it was happening online, like most things. And during this discussion, sort of talk came about of whether media houses have any kind of like guidelines or any kind of um, direction for writers and reporters writing about LGBTQ issues. And yeah, there isn't any. There wasn't any at that point, at least. So following this discussion, I was talking to the people at QCC, and we were like, okay, you know what? It doesn't exist, but we can do it. Yeah, Dhanya and Vignesh were very kind to let me work on that.
The reason I picked these three people, I suppose they are just cases in point. The point is what? That you have consistently chosen staff, or editorial staff who have very strong convictions, about human rights, about gender, about caste. You had Dhanya Rajendran, you just mentioned her, the kind of texture she brought into the conversations around gender. Ram can sometimes, he has such strong views, he can be a bull in a china shop, but very forceful, very well read.
He was a bull in a china shop, yeah. Literally our glasses have shattered because of him shouting.
And what is that shout? That shout, that scream is actually a shout of passion. It's a shout of conviction. It is a fight over ideas. And that's one thing I think, I dare say, stands out about this newsroom. I've been in multiple newsrooms. The fact that everybody is allowed to have their say. Now, I know that it is through these kind of arguments, debates that I have grown as a person. But tell me, I know you for so many years before you became the TNM editor-in-chief. These competing ideas, how did they shape you as an editor, as a person? How did they help you evolve? 2013 Dhanya Rajendran versus now what? March 2025 Dhanya. What are your evolutions?
Yeah, if you look at my Twitter timeline itself, you will know how I've changed as a person. No, but see, for example, Ram, he was one of the first few people who joined us, not because we could give him a better salary or position or anything, but just the conviction that he wanted to do something, right? There are a lot of these journalists who are really out there. It's not just a job or a profession for them. It's a calling for them. They really want to be a part of change, though they may not see it in front of them. They want to be part of that process. Ram was one of those people who joined us initially, and I think he has been a major backbone of the News Minute. Then, of course, Soumya was there a little bit before him and after him also. Then Raga Malika, whose bite you played now. Raga brought in that sensibility of how to also look at the queer people. How do we write about them? How do we not write about them? I still remember she would get angry at this story idea saying 2 gay men got married. She's like, why are we writing this each time? We have to stop this, So, like for example, you would tell in the newsroom, don't say somebody's playing the caste card, because caste is not a card for a Dalit person, right? So these are the kind of sensibilities which different kind of people brought in the newsroom. But everybody doesn't come with conviction, Sudipto. Like when Prajwal joined, Prajwal actually brought for us our first criminal defamation case.
Yes.
Yeah. So as an intern itself, for the first time we got a criminal defamation case because of a story that he did. But I don't think Prajwal was what he was when he joined, right? He was doing more of civic infrastructure stuff. But over time, you also learn. You have a learning curve.
That's interesting because people know Prajwal as this go-to person to talk about communalism in Karnataka.
It didn't start like that.
No, it didn't start like that. In fact, he wanted to write more about movies, culture. So everybody has their own arc. Not that they are not interested in that anymore.
See, one thing I think we got very lucky with, and this is an example again, when Ram came 2015, I think 1 year after we started, a lot of the direction that News Minute has got was because of him.
Yeah.
Right? We were still saying, okay, fine, we do
Oh
this,
my
let's
God.
upload this, we'll do this and then. And we've had many fights.
So we are the people without a business plan. Ram will not like walk out of the door without a business plan. So he would come with, I have a PPT today about the next 6 months. And then he'll play this PPT for me. And I'll look very interested, but nothing is registering in my brain. Because my brain is very like, today's work I will finish. Now I can plan better. At that time I couldn't plan at all. And he would get so frustrated because I wouldn't plan. Then he said, I'm not working with Dhanya. And then he started working with Vignesh more.
So in, I think 2015 only something, I remember we were not this big office also. We had like one room right in the back. So we'd all sit there. I don't know what it was, but some story he had written or something and he had to upload. And as usual, the site was not working. So he was not able to upload a story. And right, and Ram is a big guy and he's fuming, right? He's like, what's going on? I can't upload my story. And I'm like trying to figure out what's happening. And then finally he said, come, get in the car. We'll go to the tech office. We will shout at them. We will do something. And then we'll make sure that they upload the story. So you see, we've been very lucky to get people who didn't feel that they were working for an organization, but they felt that this was their organization, right? And even today, I think that is translated to a lot of the people over here.
Vignesh, as a business person,
Not a business person, but
as a CEO who runs the money scheme of things over here, tell me now, last few months have been crazy globally, right? There's been a huge pushback against what is disparagingly called woke culture, and what we have been discussing now is what they are referring to when they say woke culture. Does it make good business sense? Again, I'm asking you, like this thing that we do with identities, with diversity. Diversity is the big bad word now. And we have the most diverse newsroom in the country. It may be a small newsroom, but everybody is in a sense represented, every point of view. Do you think this is going to be the reason for our doom?
No, of course not. We are not, I'm very optimistic on this
so
front. I don't think that
we were not born thinking we'll run the News Minute for
yeah.
us for a century, right? The News Minute happened. The News Minute is doing reasonably well. If something happens and it has to work against our convictions, then we won't work. And I'm very clear in my mind about that. And the other thing is, for example, Times of India, the biggest newspaper of the country, one of their most happening things on their website, I don't know if it's there anymore, but if you go to timesofindia.com, they'll have this slideshow of actors in bikinis. So you just slide, and then you'll see this person in bikini, same bikini, 500 pictures. So that was their biggest click. Then it became actors in holiday, whatever.
No, yoga.
Yoga. So you get the drift of this, right?
Yeah.
If we want, we could have become that. It's very easy to do. A slideshow, just hire 2 people for SEO, they will put it. But the point is not in moving with the tide, right? It is also moving against the tide. For example, a lot of my family members will ask me, why are you against the government? Nobody's against the government. People are speaking up. Before 2014, I was a reporter who covered 2G, Tatra scam, so many things. Nobody asked me this. At that time, you did not say, why are you against the government to me? Why do you ask that question now? So the world can tomorrow say we don't believe in diversity, we don't believe in caste, but I think we'll go ahead with our convictions. We can't be responding to pressure. That's one early lesson I have learned in running an own organization. 2 things. One, you're not writing for journalists. Because initially I used to feel very upset because journalists will be like, what is this News Minute website? Sometimes they'll tweet to each other saying it's a shitty website. Then I would feel very sad for days. Then I realized I'm not writing for them. Now I feel proud when people say, okay, you've written good copies. But even then, when I was writing shitty copies, they were actually correct. We were writing shitty copies. But I isolated myself from their criticism. I thought I'm going to write for the normal people, right? And the second thing I just want to say, not to react to pressure. That's what young journalists do, right? Even news channels, like people who worked with me now, people who worked with me when I was in TV news, they are pure government cheerleaders now. Why have they become that? Because they have responded to pressure or fame or money. It's the easiest route we can take, Sudipto. We just have to praise 2 governments. Everybody will give us money, run 5 ads. That's it. We've actually taken a difficult path. But people think, oh, you have this money, you have that money. Nothing. Like, if we want to talk about the future of independent journalism in India, it is actually quite depressing. But despite that, I'm telling you that we will go against the tide if needed.
This is a very long answer. Short answer is we are not changing.
Yeah.
Right? This is what it is. We will continue to do this.
Yeah.
Okay. I have another set of testimonials, and this one is going to speak to that left ventricle of yours, Kerala. This special place in your heart you have for that state and the kind of, path-breaking stories you've done over there. Let's play this. Both of them are your friends. They started off as professional acquaintances.
WCC, over a period of time, what I've noticed as a member is that whether or not there has been any huge celebration, criticism, anything that is leveled against the collective, the focus on the movement and what we are aiming to achieve is what TNM has run with. And for that, I'm very grateful, because it isn't about a few members in the collective, and it isn't about the collective that is called WCC itself. While giving due credit, what TNM has achieved is to actually investigate several aspects of the movement as to why it's important in cinema and why this change in cinema, in Malayalam cinema and then thereby Indian cinema, it affects culturally a large part of the society. And so where other media channels would try to slight it or to try to make it, oh, this is just an actress thing, or just minimize it entirely, or go for sensationalism. For me, my relationship, so to speak, with TNM, of course, started with my friendship with Dhanya.
I joined TNM in 2014 October. That was that time I was the only one in Kerala bureau. Then I was the one who taught me journalism. So at the bureau, primarily at that time we focused mainly on these features and human interest stories. So the initial years was like that. We focused on ground report. One of our first hard stories, hard ground reports that we consistently followed was in 2016, when a few people from Kerala joined Islamic State. Despite being beginners, I believe that we handled the story with utmost sensitivity and social responsibility. In 2017, the actor assault case. I'm damn sure that no media has covered like we did. We never ran behind sensationalism, and we examined the case from all angles, standing firmly for justice. So, under the title "This Hindutva South Push," we covered a lot of stories how at the ground level the political perspective of people changes, and we went to the ground, we spent days in ground, and that's how we reported politics, and that's how our election coverage also stood out from other media.
So Kerala. Now, of course, you hail from there. You probably were you a student leader in your college days as well?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so you understand some amount of politics also in
Rowdy,
Kerala. Huh?
not student leader.
No, I was student leader.
Rowdy.
Same difference. Kerala student leader, I dare say. No, don't quote me on that. I'll get beaten up next time. But what is this special connection with Kerala? And more than the special connection, it surprises me that an outlet like the News Minute is even required to tell these important stories in a place like Kerala, which from outside we think is this progressive place where one newspaper is read by 5 people in a tea shop.
So actually, something that people think now is that I have some special connection to Kerala. It is not true. I have always felt a special connection to Tamil Nadu. Initially, when the News Minute started, people were calling it Tamil Nadu Minute and all that, TNM, right? Because we were doing a lot of Tamil Nadu stories. I had just come, though I had reported in Karnataka for many years too. For me, Tamil Nadu was very special at that time. Then it became Karnataka, only later Kerala.
Actually, that's how we knew you before you started TNM.
Yeah.
We saw you as somebody who knew Tamil Nadu like the back of our hand.
Yeah.
But then TNM stories started coming, these blockbuster stories from Kerala.
So I don't know, it just happened that our Kerala stories clicked and Keralites were reading us more. Also because Keralites are spread out in Bangalore, in Hyderabad. Malayalis are there everywhere, right? And they were reading English and Malayalam news. That's the only reason why I don't think that it's because of any special connection I felt towards Kerala. Like, that's a state I will never go back to live because I don't feel a special connection to the state. Of course, a lot of crime happens there is different. Not to a WCC or this actor assault case. See, it was not because it was to do with actors or that would give us eyeballs. But me, Saumya, Raga, Anna, all of us at that time very, very strongly felt that this is like a case which will become an example for everybody else, right? Because movies, cinema impacts us culturally. It is in our it's a part of society so strongly. So when a heinous crime happens there and how society reacts to that will also. And I really think there is a shift in Kerala from 2017 to now, the way Kerala thinks, behaves, its political consciousness, its political, how the society woke up, right? So we were a part of that process, that's all. And I did not even know Parvati when WCC was formed.
A small flashback. So back in the days, we had TNM in Tamil and Malayalam.
Yeah. Then slowly I started to get to know these people. And, it's also symbiotic relationship, right? Of sisterhood. You also understand how important a movement is. For example, tomorrow if it happens in Karnataka, we'll be here to support that movement. We've been trying to support it in Tollywood, in Karnataka, but it's not taken that form because thankfully that heinous crime has not happened here, right? Which was the impetus.
That's a good thing to pick up on, actually, movements, right? I didn't plan this, but now I'm asking you anyway, which is that, which are these important movements alongside which the TNM walked? I can remember the Rohit Vemula movement, the Me Too struggle. Can you recall these times?
Recently, the Hema Committee.
The Hema Committee. Recall these times. What was happening back then? What was going on here in the newsroom?
Rohit Vemula was an important time, and I think one of our stories where we first pointed out how Smriti Irani had lied on the floor of the parliament. That is, I think, the first time a national newspaper quoted us. The Telegraph quoted us and wrote the News Minute pointed out. So, you feel happy that you did something which was of national importance. And I think Ram again had gone to Hyderabad along with Nitin, who was one of our first reporters. So Ram and Nitin reported on Rohit Vemula. And the reason why we could report is because Nitin would every day file reports when these college students were actually protesting at the university. He did not cover it from the death. Almost to the point that I would tell Nitin, why are you sending copy every day? Every day he would send a copy about these college students who are protesting against the vice chancellor. So for him, it was an important thing to write about even after the death, right? Before and after. So there are a lot of things like that. But I think we've also done consistently well when it came to calamities, whether it's flood, landslide. I think we have also covered those things well. Which also gave us a lot of following.
Movements, like Sabrimala movement, I remember, right? The kind of positions, and you got crazy pushback for that.
But I think Sabrimala, most media, we can't take credit for that. A lot of the media houses in Kerala did take a very progressive stand. Of course, in English, maybe we were very brutal about it. See, but like, for example, I generally don't believe that anybody should be forced to go to a temple. We don't think feminism is needed in religion, right? But when it came to the point, in the sense that there are a lot of other things you can do with your feminism than insist on somebody going to a temple. But when it came to that moment, we had to give our weight to it, right? That's all we did. But I think more than Sabrimala, there have been other issues where we have put our weight. We have simple things, right? For example, when there was a murder of this young woman called Swati, she was murdered in Chennai at the Nungambakam police station, Nungambakam railway station. There was a lot of furor about it. One of the first stories that Soumya wrote was about how Collywood, which is the Tamil film industry, really encourages the story of stalkers, where all their successful heroes are stalkers who will have this sword and walk around. When we wrote the story, the backlash we got is unimaginable because we were one of the first ones to point this out immediately after a murder, right? Actors were against it. Other journalists wrote copies in national newspapers about how this is a very bad thing to do, which is linking movies to violence. And I still remember there's an article in the Hindu at that time, and a professor in Mount Carmel, her name is Shakti, I did not know her. She felt so moved by what we did. She herself did a survey with around 1,000 people about how movies do impact minds. And then that journalist in the Hindu then said, yes, I'm sorry for what I wrote. So, people randomly have helped us because they believe that this conversation is important. And now see, there is such a big conversation about how movies do impact, right? So initially, we did help those conversations.
I think one big differentiator was in 2015 when the Chennai floods happened. I think we took a call not to publish copies because we realized that the people in Tamil Nadu don't have any access. They didn't have any electricity to charge their phone or read or whatever. So we will stop publishing copies and actually do something which helps people on the ground.
I remember that.
I think that made a big impact with, the people who come back to read us and come back.
Supplies.
It was not just that. We worked with the Chennai Corporation. We worked with a lot of NGOs. So we were coordinating rescue.
So the whole desk here, the team which was sitting here was not publishing copies those days.
Desk meaning some 5-6 people,
only
along
5-6
with
people,
so
but
many
still,
citizens who came, and those are the first subscribers also. See, it's like you build a community, right? People who trust you, and then they want to be part of your newsroom, right?
So
in whatever ways possible.
In those days, we actually collaborated with Times Now because we knew that we had the access on the ground, but there is no point in doing this if you're not able to reach a wider audience. So
No, that's something we've always done. When a story needed the intervention of a bigger player, we have reached out without any shame.
Yes.
And they've actually obliged. Most of them are obliged.
Speaking of community, I think we should play that clip of Pooja's and Shabir's. It speaks to this concept of community that the News Minute has kind of created.
So there was only this Hindu Muslim. So, that was the time when I felt like, okay, I need to do something. I need to change, find another job or like do something else. And that's when, News Minute happened. I was talking to Dhanya. To me, shifting from television to digital was a huge thing. It was like, challenging myself, starting from scratch. Because digital one, I have to write. In television media, you don't have to write. All you have to do is send flashes, and the scripts and other things will be written by people sitting on the desk. So, it was a huge challenge. And second, I was not so confident that I can write. But I think it was Dhanya who gave me that kind of confidence that you can go report stories from the ground, you can write. And that's when, when I wrote stories and when I wrote the Kanyakumari Hindutva series, that's when I realized that I can write. So she keeps telling me, you should write, but that doesn't happen. When I wanted to join News Minute, I told Dhanya that I will do both Tamil and English because Tamil, for a Tamil audience, there is a lot of, noise on the YouTube platform. There has to be a nuanced argument, be it political or social, on social issues. It was a conscious decision that we will do a show on Tamil and it will be in Kelvi.
I joined News Minute in the middle of the pandemic. 2020 July is when I officially joined the News Minute, and it was unimaginable that somebody is getting a job in journalism when most journalists were actually losing jobs or getting pay cuts and what have you. And I didn't have any vision for myself when I joined a News Minute, because I knew that whatever it is, it will be journalism, it will be good journalism, well intended. Because although I joined the organization much later on, from even before when Dhanya and Vignesh were thinking about starting TNM, I was very emotionally closely involved. And this was a safe space for me even when I was working with other organizations. I'd drop in here anytime I would feel low, I would feel disillusioned about the world in general, about journalism in specific. This is where I'd come to kind of, feel more hopeful.
When Pooja said that, I immediately latched on to that thought, because I have done that. I don't want to name the organizations, but wherever I was working, if it would get a little too suffocating, I would just come here, spend an afternoon here writing or just hanging out and things like that. This sense of community. I suppose that's also what Shabir is speaking about, right? We're saying this pivot he made because the place where he was working at became really toxic after a point. And for somebody who came from his kind of background, must have been hell. He talks about this Hindu-Muslim thing that started happening in newsrooms and things like that. I understand there are a lot of people in the News Minute, people like, we gave examples of Prajwal, there is Charan, so many others who were shaped by their experience within the News Minute. And then you had the three of us coming in, each with around 15 odd years of experience. Some of us thought we are cat's whiskers and all of that. How difficult was it to deal with us and make us pivot? And what?
Who said that you have been pivoted? As much as I would want.
Show. Shabir wrote that story.
I think we had other people also before that, like Anna. Anna was a TV person, but Anna's adjustment to print digital was so good, right? Seamless. And she could actually lead the newsroom also. Then there was Paul. Paul was also a senior reporter, not of course as senior as you guys, but he also made the transition quite well. So we have had experiences of people coming from TV here. Not everything was successful. With Pooja, you and Shabir, we had reached a point where we wanted senior people who would also drive the newsroom, not just be part of the newsroom, right? It's also about individual intentions, right? People could have come here and not changed. They could have said, I won't do. But everybody does change.
What can I add to that? I think that in general, all television news media has been compromised now. I think if we go out, and this is something that Abhinandan and me have spoken about, right? I think there are a lot of very, very good journalists out there who want to do great things.
And I wish I had all the money in the world to hire them.
But unfortunately, they can't do it because you know what's happening in the news media space right now. So I think they will, at some point, we would like News Minute and News Laundry to be some kind of an organization or an institute which is run by journalists, right, ultimately. And then they can just come here and there will be enough money for them to experiment or put out the reports that they want to
enough
carry.
Money
right?
is
enough
keyword.
Money is the key.
Keyword every time.
Okay. I'm going to play another testimonial now, but this one is going to look at these two very important pivots that you made. I have
pivot. You're saying what pivot?
No, because there are so many like course corrections you made along the way.
Absolutely. In 11 years, we have made many course corrections.
This is Ram and Anna talking about two very crucial pivots.
Was doomed right from the beginning for platforms like the News Minute. I think it was the big intermediaries who always made money, or it was at least the big platforms. Your of TNM, so to speak, from my role when we were at the cusp of that change from a completely ad model to a completely subscription-driven model like you are right now. So, but I think that shift has been crucial, and it speaks more to the reason why the News Minute was started. A community like this together, with a shared passion, is extremely difficult. Right, I'm on my own, somewhat of an entrepreneurial journey.
During the pandemic, a lot changed. Right, Ram and Vignesh were able to bring some ads into TNM, but that started drying up during the pandemic, and then we realized that listen, we need to sort of pivot. I think Vignesh and Dhanya came to me and they dropped this bomb saying, "Hey, will you lead the video vertical?" I mean, yes, I did TV for the longest time, but TV and YouTube are such different beasts, right? Most of the people in the organization have largely been very hesitant and reluctant to do any form of video resources. We just yes, our phones are largely good, but obviously some reporters don't have very good phones. So then equipment, then audio is such a big, I don't know if it's been fixed, but largely been such a big issue where half the times the mics that we have don't work. Being in TNM for so long that listen, our budgets are limited, right? We just have to work with what we have. I remember that before every show, I would get so much anxiety because now there's a proper studio, but I would shoot the video I think most episodes from Dhanya's house. I don't like somebody else recording the video for me because I feel like that's a waste of a resource where that person is just sitting and watching me do these multiple takes. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to do it on my own. So I would go to Dhanya's house, shut the door and do it. My biggest headache or pain point was Vedant, getting him to not watch TV or put the TV on mute or silent while I recorded the video.
Okay, I'm going to answer.
Quickly, for the audiences, let me just clarify who Vedant is. Vedant is their son. Vedant Vellore, teenage son.
Who doesn't care about the News
I'm
Minute?
not going to answer Ram's question now, but to all the people, I'll answer Anna's question. Yeah, we had shitty mics, we had very bad cameras, this, that.
We still have a lot of bad
now we have
mics.
very good mic, camera, studio entirely built by our members, our paying members. This entire studio has been built by our members. So next studio also we will get.
We still need a nice carpet over here.
Done.
My question over here, based on what both Anna and Ram are saying, they're talking resources, they're talking revenue. And that has been the real struggle, right? Resources for reporting, resources for multimedia production, and this question of where the revenue will come from, which takes me back to a conversation I once had with you, Dhanya, where you were very at that point very hopeful, gung-ho about the possibility of people investing money. And you would say things like, well, investors should not think about returns when it comes to journalism, because journalism is about promoting ideas, and people who invest money in journalism outlets should think about how they can influence society and people and things like that. And that's why they should put money, not for revenue.
Clearly,
So,
I'm not an entrepreneur.
yeah. So when did the good morning happen for you?
Good morning happened to me years ago, but I don't like to wake up and say good morning. I like to live in this happy, peaceful notion that everything is going well, which is why we don't talk too much work, right? Then Vignesh will tell me, do you know how it is? Resources and what is second thing, and revenue is always a problem. It is not yesterday, today. It just keeps changing in quantum, that's all. But it's always a problem, but we are figuring out ways. We are now way better when it comes to subscription. We are hoping that more people will take it. But we also know that there will be a time when there will be a stagnation, right? Then what happens? Like, how much can you expect people to keep paying? For how long? How many people? So these are questions we'll deal with as they come.
But Vignesh, this is a question that I think you should talk about a little bit. This, when I say pivot, this is essentially the pivot. You were hoping that, not hoping, I don't know if were you hoping that some angel investor would come? You were definitely expecting advertisements. That never quite happened.
No, we have had investors.
We've had investors. No, we've had
not like large investments, but we've had investors.
We've had investors. Yeah. See, the investors. I mean, there are a set of good people who really who believe in the media space and they want to invest and stuff like that. So, luckily for us, we've been able to, get a few of them on board. So we've run the traditional model for many years, from 2014 and onwards. And then the pivot only happened during the pandemic because obviously, like Anna said, the ads dried up and stuff like that. See, but and this is something that we would have not thought about, or we would have not taken the path, which is, subscription and reader revenue, as we call it, would be a sustaining factor. If I had not met, Abhinandan.
No. He didn't meet Abhinandan. Abhinandan used to harass me all the time saying that, why don't you guys start subscription? You did not even know him. So then I started harassing Vignesh in turn, saying that Abhinandan is going on saying this, why don't you talk to him?
So then when we spoke, and then he laid it down so clearly, right? I mean, the people, the legacy media, the big publications and all, they're surviving on ads which have been spent by is government money. It's public money at the end of the day, right? I mean, I was just reading day before yesterday that 2,300 crores have been spent for Kumbh Mela ads. Now, if I get 1% of that, I can also sustain my website. But unfortunately, they don't give me those ads. It's not like I've not applied for government ads. Religiously, for many, many years, I used to apply and we would get rejected. But anyway, that's a different thing. So then when you see, and I like the fact that, they have sustained a path for the last 13 years. And from day 1 to day 13 years later, they've said that, hey, we will only look at reader revenue, memberships and subscriptions. And when that path was very clearly laid out to me, and then I realized that, boss, this is also something that we can do, because we've always built a community. We've always had a loyal set of readers. And then when we tried that in 2020, we were able to see some, it's not like suddenly substantial and stuff like that, but it was able to get us by, right? At least for during the pandemic years. Now we're very clear that we are not going to be an organization which is going to be run by ads, whether it's government, private, this, that, whatever it is, right? We will only focus on subscriptions and reader revenue. I genuinely believe that with this and with all the collaborations that we're doing, we will hit sustainability. We will become a sustainable operation, if not only sustainable, but at least with some kind of a room to grow as well.
Is it good for journalism also, you think, your model?
100%. I think, a reader-funded model will be much better for journalism, because tomorrow you will not need any CEOs to come and say that, okay, we have to get more and more investors, or get these brands on board, get these brands, get this advertising on board, or do this story to make sure that, we are pleasing certain people to, get something else. I don't think that. Tomorrow we will purely be an institution which is run by journalists, not for journalists, but for the public.
Sudipto, for all the people, like for example, people say you have Soros money. What is now is just US aid money, or what is China, Khalistan, whatever. It's actually very difficult to get even 1 rupee properly if you're an independent media organization in India. Nobody wants to give ads. We also took ads at one point of time. And second is, ads can come with conditions, right? Then they'll ask you, why did you do this negative story? That's a space we don't want to get into. 2, hardly anybody wants to invest in media. It's actually a few lawyers and people in all the media houses and small entrepreneurs who have been putting money in these media houses. Third is the fact that to run this operation, you don't need a lot of money also. You just need a few fellowship, grants, reader revenue, etc. That is how everybody has been running this ship. But if we have to grow, then we need more. We need more readers to pitch in. And definitely it helps. I'm not answerable to anyone, right? I can run my newsroom. If a reader who likes it, you pay for it. Otherwise, it's fine.
If you don't like us, then pay for some other independent pay portal that you like. But support. That
in
is
fact,
the key word.
I tell everybody, even in our newsroom, that once a month, try to take one subscription, 500 rupees, 100 rupees, whatever it is. Because it's like we buy coffee, right? Don't we go watch movies? Do we not pay for a doctor? Though we think that it's a job where people should not take money, right? It's a calling. We think that it's a job where people should not take money, right? But we do pay for doctors. The same way, pay for your journalism. And if people do that more and more, then I think that the new big newspapers, let's say subscribers are keeping the newspapers going. Why would they be, so subservient to governments? They won't be, right? So all our big news organizations also have to go towards revenue from the readers, like a New York Times does, like the Guardian does. So many big newspapers abroad do.
Till date, no big corporation has called us and said, hey, can you pull this story down? There was one time when a big corporation came, sat in our office and said, don't carry the story, we'll give you ads. We could have gone down that path. It's one story after all, right? Doesn't matter. And then we probably
we have 3 cases on that story.
Yeah, we have 3 cases.
But it doesn't matter.
But it doesn't matter, right?
Talk about these cases, Vignesh. I was hoping to
bring. No, please, no.
So that's one.
I spent a lot of my life.
I know.
I'll tell you the joke. So basically, his grandmother had gone to a person who looks at the horoscope, right? So that person said, "Unga paiyan apdiye romba periyana aidvan." Like he'll become a big person. Naraya signatures pannu. That guy was thinking he will sign a lot of checks. His grandmother also thought the same. But what is Vignesh doing? He's signing court papers. Some of the courts, they're required to sign thrice on the same paper. Which is the court?
Telangana court has a specific requirement that you have to sign.
Duplicate, no?
7 times like this. No. 3 times like this and 7 times like this. Yeah,
so if you have
21 signatures in each page.
If you have 100
I have done 1,000
pages.
signatures in one day, man.
Yeah. So the guy who looked at the horoscope was correct.
No, but how many cases are we facing right now?
We have about 26 cases.
That is right now. See, that's the whole point, right? So we have to pay our lawyers, which is why we tell our readers that if 300 people, we are not even asking a lot. If 300 people are ready to pay 500 rupee per month, we can meet our legal expenses.
And
just
please,
the legal expenses.
And please understand, this is just subsidized legal expense.
Yeah, they are also not
They're
charging
also not
us
charging us the way they should be charging. But still, we incur so many costs.
But to get
paper,
350
filing,
people to sign is itself not easy. Everybody thinks that when we put out a subscription call, hundreds of people are signing up. That's not true because we are not a newspaper like the Hindu, right? For example, it is a necessity for a person to sign up for a huge newspaper because they want to read news. So they will sign up for the e-paper of Times of India or the Hindu. That's not the same for a News Minute or News Laundry. You sign up for it because you like their work or you want their work to continue. So that's all we're asking. Small ask. 350 people sign up, we can pay our legal fees.
See, even the paywalling and stuff like that. Tomorrow, we don't want to be a website which just paywalls all the content that we have, right? Because genuinely, we believe that there are certain stories which are public interest. It should be
every story is in public interest.
But some stories, okay, we can afford to put it behind a paywall, but some we try to keep consciously free so that everybody can consume it. But like she said,
paywall has been one big fight between us because I've been staunchly against paywall.
Yeah, she's against.
But Abhinandan just bulldozed me. Vignesh normally doesn't bulldoze me much, but Abhinandan does.
Okay, last set of testimonials will speak about your extracurricular activities which go beyond the scope of the News Minute. I wonder why you do it. Running one outlet is tough enough. Why do you do all this extracurricular stuff? Let's watch this.
I mean, Vignesh for me and for my organization, for Himal South Asian, has been a very key mentor, helping us to figure out how to grow the organization and take the right steps towards sustainability. And really, Vignesh and Dhanya, I think it takes a certain kind of person to get as far as you guys have gotten. But then it takes an extra special person, or set of people, because there's two of you. It takes a special kind of people to then make the extra effort all the time, day in, day out, to then also make sure that you're lifting the people around you.
I think they have created a fantastically credible brand and seriously been able to do things that many of us aspire to on representation, on just being aware of diversity and actually acting on it. I think on that they're probably the first movers and way ahead of everybody. Of course, then there's the journalism credentials of Dhanya, and she has a fantastic team there. And I think with News Laundry and the News Minute, we can bring out the best in each other.
My perception of her is mainly based on our interactions over the past several years in and around the Network of Women in Media India, better known as the NWMI. She's obviously an experienced, successful, and respected journalist and editor who has clearly been instrumental in making TNM what it is today. A credible, dynamic, respected, and progressive source of news and views, focusing much needed attention on southern India and on many issues that the legacy media tends not to cover as much as they ought to. And of course, her role as the founding chairperson of DigiPub is also an important aspect of her work over the past few years. What I really appreciate about Dhanya is how lightly she wears her fame and status as a high achiever in an intensely competitive profession. She's obviously a serious journalist, but she doesn't seem to take herself too seriously. I think her sense of humor and generally irreverent attitude has helped her steer clear of being too full of herself. Quite the opposite as far as I can see. It seems to me that this is really a very endearing and increasingly rare quality, especially in successful people.
If Amu had known, if Amu had known Vignesh, I suppose she would have said the same thing. Wears it lightly.
Amu knows Vignesh.
No, I mean, what all he does
for this wears this lightly. We were having this discussion with Veda, and then we said your mother is a Chameli Devi award-winning journalist, and he's like, who is this Chameli Devi?
So I have to wear it lightly.
So that's where you're.
No, but I think our entire newsroom is like that.
Yeah,
we don't take ourselves. See, that is when the problem is, right? Initially, when we got one or two investors, people used to ask me, but you will lose your shares. Your shares in the company will reduce from whatever 50-50. What? I'm like, what will I do with those shares? Boil and eat them. The point isn't running the company, right? If I don't have the money, somebody else will bring in. We can't hang on to legacy company like that.
No,
we just have to be there and do it.
No, but why are you guys such activists? I mean, you can just run TNM and be happy with that. No, why, Vignesh, are you going and mentoring some other organization when you have one baby to feed here?
Why?
Why is Roman getting your time and not me?
You've got my time. You are just not coming here and sitting. No, I genuinely believe that if this ecosystem grows.
You use the word ecosystem.
Yeah, I mean, this is independent
Ecosystems
media.
are illegal.
Okay, ecosystems are illegal.
No, but yeah.
All the anti-national independent organizations are there. I mean, there is no...
Mike is here.
The mic is here. Oh, okay. I mean, this is not a Coca-Cola formula which we have to keep hidden, right? And then we'll keep it to ourselves and say that, okay, fine, everybody else doesn't get it and we'll profit out of it. It's not like we're profiting out of establishments. We did this for a certain cause. And there are so many outlets out there, and it's not just Himal or anything. I've spoken to so many journalists who have founded their own organizations or even small YouTube channels and stuff like that. And I know how much they're struggling, right? In our own,
actually quite bad.
Yeah, it is actually it is really bad, and they don't know what to do, right? But they've got their hearts in the right place. They've got fantastic stories to tell. And none of this is coming out.
But journalists are bad business people. They just don't know how to run organizations.
So, I mean, today News Laundry and me are collaborating. And we have never said that any other publication who wants to be part of this cannot come and collaborate. We've always been very open about it. Now, if I can allocate some amount of my time to ensure that I'm helping few of these organizations, I mean, I'm not going to hesitate from doing that, right? It's not like I'm teaching them something which is unknown or not been invented or something like that. This is something that we are sharing with them, and we have made the mistakes in the last 11 years. I know how difficult it is today after 11 years that we started without a plan. Now, these organizations should not go and say, we'll try everything for 11 years and then we'll figure out what exactly to do. If we can fast track that approach.
So initially they used to approach me saying, can you tell us? And I cannot advise other people, because I've done so many mistakes. Like Ram's PPT is what perhaps I would forward to those people, but I'm not a planner. So then I would put them on to Vignesh. Then later I realized this has become his almost full-time job. Yeah. He's always talking to other people, some podcast platform, some website on how to increase their revenue. I'm like, when will we increase ours?
Yes, we're increasing shortly when all the members and all the people listening to this podcast will
just
open
go
up
click
their
on subscription.
Google Pays and UPIs and say, okay, fine, we'll take a 500 rupee subscription. Recurring subscription, not a one-time subscription.
Dhanya, your extracurricular work, right? I have a lot of fondness for this organization called NWMI, the Network of Women in Media. How do you think your engagement over there has evolved over the years? What kind of is there a shout out you want to give? How does it shape journalism? How do journalists shape NWMI?
So NWMI is a collective of women media professionals, not just journalists, but primarily journalists. It's like home to me. If there is a problem, if there is no problem, just to crack a joke, whatever it is, it's that place you go to. And now I think the network has grown so much. We have around 1,400, 500 members. It's very important, right? And also, I think NWMI became much more important for all of us at a time when this online media harassment started. See, till then, most journalists knew what to do with real life harassment issues where a source is threatening you or a story that you have done about someone has resulted in intimidation. We were suddenly exposed to this online world where the harassment is so high. That's when I think a lot of us started coming together on how to support each other, right? It's simple things to just tell how you're feeling, that you're feeling bad today. There were days I couldn't sleep because I was getting harassed online. Now I'm a pro at it. But the point is, when I needed help, and for a lot of people, NWMA became that safe space. And it still is for journalists who are working in problematic areas, let's say Kashmir, so many places. There are journalists who work with NWMA. We support them in every way possible. So to all the people, including Ammu Joseph, who actually founded NWMI, kudos to them, because it's because of them that we have that organization. And then, of course, came DigiPub. DigiPub was a necessity of the time. The BJP government was very clear that they were going to target digital media. And before they did something, we were very sure that we had to come together. And that also Abhinandan and a couple of others were always sending emails saying, let's do something. For years, those emails used to come and no one was acting on it. But at one point, we said, okay, let's do. I became the chairperson primarily because I'm from Bengaluru and not in Delhi, where people may easily get arrested because of the government's fondness for digital media. But unfortunately, now I'm the chairperson for 3 years. Maybe we'll have, but it's also been a lot of work. Cases being filed, protection to journalists. Those are the things that a lot of our time goes in now, not just journalism.
But all this universe, this metaverse that you guys have created together, 1 and 111. I just wanted to know how, when you speak about it as home, NWMI, or when you talk about it as an ecosystem and all that, I just wanted to know that it is also a great source of solace, a great pillar in the lives of people like me, ordinary journalists who are working in this organization. And I suppose I can speak also on behalf of journalists who are working in the other organizations who are part of this ecosystem.
Who's ordinary journalist here?
No, ordinary means we are just reporters. I mean, we are employees over here.
Journalists are the best journalists.
No, because see, I'll tell you why this is important, Vignesh. Because see, we come from legacy media outlets means what? If I said I'm coming from the Hindu and drop a card at the desk of a minister or a bureaucrat and all that, the door would open irrespective of whether I am known or not. I went to Kashmir during I think the 2014 elections. Picked up a fight with an army person, had an argument with a police officer. Why? Because I'm from Hindustan Times. the fact that you have all this this entire ecosystem, I suppose, to me gives me some confidence, saying that when now I'm reporting in Madurai and if I get beaten up, at least I know that there's this.
But Kashmiri must still go to jail now.
That I'm sure.
Don't pick a fight.
I mean, you'll still come and try to rescue.
Yeah, but mostly you'll be in jail. Yeah, but you'll get good food there. No problem.
Yeah. That I don't know if I can count on, because the jailers are not likely to be Kashmiri.
I do know a lawyer.
They may give me dal roti.
I do know a lawyer from Kashmir, just in case. I'm very well connected to this.
So go on.
Is that lawyer behind bars or outside?
No.
Anyway, but I just wanted to say thank you for what you guys do. You make us feel a lot safer. You've given us another lease of life for a lot of us. We wouldn't have otherwise had careers. Thanks to this, whatever that you do, that we have jobs and a career and this profession. That's all for this episode. That was Dhanya Rajendran, our editor-in-chief.
Where's the CTA, man?
CTA idle. The whole show is on CTA.
Say it again, huh? That's all, huh?
You remind everyone.
No.
The whole show is on CTA.
Yeah, it's fine. Just say that's all. Just wrap up, come.
Right, that was Dhanya Rajendran, our editor-in-chief, and Vignesh Vellore, our chief executive officer, speaking about the News Minute, their own ism and the ism of this fantastic news outlet. Don't forget to become a subscriber of the joint subscription plan that we have from News Minute and News Laundry. Thank you for watching.